The passenger ship entered the Suth-Kassa system. It began moving toward the Sutherian homeworld at a slow, leisurely pace, as though waiting for something. In the passenger compartments, an army of Sutherians took inventory of their weapons and armor. The 7 weaponized asteroids became active. Their engines burned hard, thrusting until they completely ran out of fuel. Once starved of propellant, the impulse engines powered down, allowing the stealth rocks to drift along their new course, silent and invisible. On the Sutherian homeworld, in the ecclesiastical district of Venka Urbo, 6 Nagyari men emerged from the back entrance of a megachurch devoted to Kumase, Spectre of Oblivion. Alex Camber straightened his overcoat and walked into the cityscape, leaving his companions with a single order: guard the conduit. Chapter 23. 3 Shadows. Trig, Tenna, Kara, and Panico were dropped off at the spaceport by Appia. While Panico talked to the other mercenaries about getting the resonance cascade ready for launch, Appia grabbed Trig by the shoulder and held him back for a moment. "You're going to need this where you're going," she said. "Take it, seriously." Appia reached into one of her cargo pockets and produced a small blaster pistol. It had been personalized to Appia's tastes, with several mythological symbols engraved on the barrel and handle, including the image of a wilted flower, which was the symbol of Kumase. She pressed the ornate weapon into Trig's hand and quickly explained how to recharge it and reprogram the smart weapon system. "That way, it'll be keyed to your fingerprints, so only you can pull the trigger. Right now, it just recognizes me. Like I said, I think you're going to need your own weapon from here on out. So take it, reprogram it, and get some practice before you actually get into a fight. I want you to come back alive, Shepminter. You hear me?" Aboard the Resonance Cascade, Bronley helped Trig reprogram his new weapon before locking it in the armory. "Panico and Cantor had a talk," Bronley said. "We're going to refuel as fast as we can. Rulan is logged into the interlink terminal right now, trying to get our arms dealer to come out here and restock our torpedoes and sea-whiz ammo. Rest up, kid. We're probably going to leave in 3 or 4 days." Trig wanted to go out and explore the city of Venka Urbo during the downtime before launch, but Panico had other plans. The old mercenary took over the astrogation room and was planning out the search for the other 4 keystones in there. "Veldanura, Hanakon, Vitruvius, and Avitus," Panico said, writing the names on a full-size touchscreen with his thumb. "They, along with Alex, were entrusted with the keystone fragments. We find them, we get the keystones." "Where are they?" Trig asked. "Vitruvius and Avitus are both Olenbar. After Malum died, they left the Horde. From what I've heard, Avitus returned to Tritonus, the Olenbar homeworld. Vitruvius joined the Idolic Prophets of the Shroud, and is now living on their Enclave station. Hanakon and Veldanura are Nagyari, and I know they both deserted the Horde when MSI started picking over its remains. I don't know where Hanakon is, but Veldanura was his closest friend, and will know the answer." "Where's Veldanura?" Trig asked. "He's in one of 2 places." Panico pointed to a holographic map of the luminous frontier. "He is either gambling at Trade Station Tungle with the Caravanseers, or he is gambling with his friends, the MSI debt collectors in the Bayou star system. These men know how valuable the keystones are. They will guard the stones with their lives, just as Malum instructed them to." "Makes it all the more impressive that someone stole a keystone from Alex Camber and gave it to Tenna," Trig commented. "Indeed," Panico replied. "It means we have a secret ally somewhere out in the cosmos." That night, Trig slept on the ship and found himself in a slightly familiar dream. He was sitting on the edge of a riverbank, watching the sunlight flicker along the water's surface. A noise behind him caught his attention. Someone was having a conversation, and he was eavesdropping. "It's just, before today, I knew exactly what I wanted to say to you, Trig, but now things are different. I'm so scared, and I just want you to, hold me and tell me it's going to be okay, but I know what'll happen if I do." The voice belonged to Tenna. Trig was about to say something when a second voice spoke. "If you really feel that way about me, then you'd say so. Love means you'd stay with someone no matter what happens, doesn't it?" "What the hell?" Trig thought to himself. "Does my voice really sound like that?" Now that he focused his attention, the male voice really was his own. Finally, unable to resist, Trig looked around. Tenna was standing close by, wearing the same white gold dress she used at her turman. She was sitting cross-legged in the grass, a few meters away from the river. She was talking to a copy of Trig Shepminter. Well, nearly perfect. This boy who wore Trig's face and clothes was strangely blurred around the edges. No matter how hard Trig focused his eyes, he could not see his double clearly. It was as though this doppelganger was merely a mirage and not actually present on the water's edge. Furthermore, this copy of Trig was carrying a scythe. It lay in his lap as he sat next to Tenna. But, my future," Tenna stammered. 3 long shadows danced out from behind a tree and sprawled across the grass in front of Tenna. Trig realized that these were the same shadows he watched act out his own future in the Divination Chamber. He paid close attention. The first shadowy images depicted a person pointing the way while a crowd of people ran by. Then the shadows reshaped themselves into a second image, a perfectly round circle. Dappled light waved and flickered within the simple shape. Finally, the shadows changed into a third pictograph, one person striking another from behind. Tenna looked up from the shadows. Finally, she spotted Trig. Her eyes went wide, and she did a double take, looking from one to the other. "Wait, what?" she said, her hands starting to shake. Tenna glanced at the copy of Trig, the one carrying a scythe with whom she had been speaking this whole time. The copy of Trig gave her a smile, then vanished. The next day was very uncomfortable. Trig and Tenna were expected to join Panico in the morning for psionics lessons, and then report to the cockpit after lunch, where Rulon and Selborn would teach them how to pilot the ship, maintain its systems, and operate its subsystems. The children did not get a moment to speak to one another until the early evening hours. Not that they would have spoken before this point. Trig was unable to look at Tenna, much less say anything to her. She also made a point of avoiding him. She did not say a word of congratulations when, after intense practice and focus, Trig made a pencil roll across a desktop through telekinesis. Around sunset, Trig was sitting on a pile of crates at the bottom of the ship's boarding ramp, watching other starships come and go from the spaceport. Tenna found him there and leaned awkwardly against the same pile of crates, her head level with Trig's feet. Hey, Tenna," Trig said. "You know how sometimes you have a really vivid dream? So vivid that you can remember it all day?" "Yeah," she said in a faint voice. "So, you were in my dream last night," Trig said, his face getting hot and red. Looking down, Trig saw that Tenna's face was also turning red. Their mutual sense of embarrassment caused both teens to struggle with words. "Me too," Tenna said. "Oh, I mean, you were in my dream too. Twice, actually." "Yeah, I saw myself too," Trig said, "and it reminded me of another dream I had a few days back." Trig took a deep breath. If he asked this question a week ago, it would have sounded far-fetched. But things were different now. Tenna, how many times have I... Trig could barely say it. How many times have I broken into your dreams? Tenna put her face in her hands and made a squealing noise. She tried to speak but lost her words. She swallowed and tried again. So, I'm a lucid dreamer. Do you know what that means? Yeah, heard about it in school, Trig replied. It means you can control your dreams, right? She nodded. I've been adding you to my dreams every night, Tenna whispered, embarrassed to no end about being forced to admit this. I'd make a dreamy Trig. I don't know when you, really started showing up. Tenna refused to take her face out of her hands. Her ears were blood red and looked like they could have been hot to the touch. Did you see anything? Did you see me and the other Trig, doing anything? Trig hesitated, thinking hard. If I did, I don't remember. He was being honest. Then he hastily added, I'm not a lucid dreamer, so I wouldn't have been able to do anything anyway. While Trig and Tenna were having this conversation, Tactical Officer Rulon was about 300 meters away, standing in one of the spaceport hangars. He was having an argument with a gruff-looking Sutherian named Roth, a representative of the arms dealer Rulon used to keep the Resonance Cascade full of weapons. I'm trying, man. I keep trying my damnedest, Roth said. I got more EdCap torpedoes than I know what to do with, but I got no workers to move them. The stress is killing me. I can tell, Rulon said dryly. You look terrible. It's nothing. I just ain't sleeping well, that's all, Roth said. Not sleeping well, Rulon repeated. Why not? Noisy neighbors? Nah, nothing like that, Roth admitted. It's just... He leaned in close and said, I've stopped having dreams.